Russian dissident Navalny jokes his Santa Clauses after reappearing in Arctic prison.
Here's a summary of the article.
News. The U.S. hit 3 targets in Iraq in response to attacks on an American air base by what it said were Iran-backed militia. The Iraqi militia group has claimed many of the more than 100 attacks on U.S. military bases in Iraq and Syria since Hamas's October 7 attack sparked tensions across the Middle East. Iraqi officials denounced the attacks as a hostile act that violated the country's sovereignty, and said that civilians were injured in the strikes. Houthi attacks on shipping vessels in the Red Sea, an Israeli air strike on an Iranian officer in Syria, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's promise to intensify attacks on Gaza, and simmering tensions on the Israel-Lebanon border could all escalate the conflict further. The Biden administration's strategy has been to respond cautiously to attacks on U.S. bases, seeking to avoid escalation to the frustration of some Pentagon officials and Republicans. We are in a multi-front war and are coming under attack from 7 theaters: Gaza, Lebanon, Syria, Judea and Samaria, Iraq, Yemen and Iran, Israel's defense minister said on Tuesday. Behind closed doors, Israel looks increasingly willing to discuss the future of the conflict. A top Israeli official is expected to meet with U.S. officials today to discuss plans to scale down the war to a low-intensity operation by the end of January.
This post received a score of 3,500, with an upvote ratio of 96%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
Putin is such a tiny little baby. FFS. I can't wait until that stain is no more.
Historically, someone more extreme and less restrained will probably follow. I hope they don't last long.
And then, things got worse.
Basically the Russian national motto at this point. From the newsletter, Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny was tracked down to a penal colony in Siberia after his team lost contact with him for more than 2 weeks. I'm totally relieved that I've finally made it, the 47-year-old wrote on X about his pretty exhausting 20-day transfer. I'm still in a good mood, as befits a Santa Claus. He added, in reference to his new winter clothes and beard. The U.S. said it remained deeply concerned about Navalny's well-being and the conditions of his unjust detention, urging Moscow to end the escalating repression of dissidents.
Greater than, pretty exhausting, 20-day transfer. Only in Russia does it take 20 days to transfer a high-risk prisoner.
There's only so much beating you can fit into a day.
Nonsense, you just get more people in the room with him.
Russian citizens must be proud of their dictator.
They're too busy complaining about the US being warmongers.
I was recently thinking about this guy and what role he'll play in the history books. Putin will be remembered as an idiot authoritarian who fucked up by invading Ukraine. Navalny will be the one guy who stood up to him and the one guy Putin just couldn't break.
Been lots of people who stood up to Putin over the years. He used to have frequent political opponents. Most end up dead or in prison, and most are generally forgotten. The others typically flee Russia and never return. That Navalny has managed to stay known in the West is due to him returning to Russia. People don't usually do that lol.
I wonder how cold it is in those cells. Wonder how hot in those cells instead? They often have 30 to 60 prisoners in a cell meant for 5 to 6 and they sleep in shifts, because they don't have space to even sit down. They take turns sitting, standing, and sleeping, because at such capacity you're like sardines in a can. Sadly enough, the grandfather term is also used in the Russian army, military where the second years are superior to those in the first year of recruitment and dares torture and put the first years through hell. There was a case about a kid, 18 to 19 who got so badly beaten, raped, and tortured by dares, that he had to have his legs amputated at the hips and he dies a few days later.
I'll give this dude his due. He's one tough fella with all the shit he's been put through.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.